In the bulletin this morning, anti-corruption campaigners petitioned the special prosecutor to probe separate claims of tax evasion and money laundering to the tune of $1.8 billion. Also coming in this morning, former Attorney General and one-time Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu accuses President Akufo-Addo of orchestrating a grand scheme to hand over power in 2025 to another NPP government. Later in the bulletin, Inspector General of Police assures of law and order and the protection of lives in Ghana. And on the foreign front, 6 police officers and dozens of civilians have been killed in anti-government protests in Sierra Leone. We'll bring you updates. Well, many thanks for your time. Remember, we're live on DSTV channel 279 all around the world on 3news.com and across the social media platforms. You can find us at TV3 Ghana. Let's set up for the details now. And the police administration says it is overly committed in achieving its mandate of maintaining law and order. Speaking at a public lecture at KNUST, the IGP, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, highlighted some strategic interventions being implemented by the police to improve their services and meet public expectation.
You individually have a security mindset. We don't have it. We have totally outsourced our security to somebody else and minding our own business. That is why in all economic textbooks before until recently, security was never an issue. All the factors of production, factors of socio-economic development, you never saw security until recently people are trying to do research and trying to look at the analysis between socio-economic development and security. In the same way, because of our lack of security mindedness, we will build communities, and when we finish with all the land, then we claim we need police. And when we come around, we are not finding land. They say, let's find some container and put the policy. When did we become a cargo? Lack of security mandate. When you get that consciousness and you apply it, you keep going in it and you become a master of it. And then you can then handle every situation around you.
Now, former Attorney General and one-time Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu has accused President Akufo-Addo of orchestrating a grand scheme to hand over power in 2025 to another NPP government. Now, according to Mr. Amidu, the latest appointments by the President of Edward Asumini, Deputy National Security Coordinator, to act as substantive National Security Coordinator, and Nana Atuobra-Kweku, currently the Deputy Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau, as Director General, are part of the NPP's agenda to break the 8. The latest article called on Ghanaians to protect and defend what he says is strategy to circumvent the free will of the people. Martin Atiedudate has more.
Episode by Martin ABK Amidu draws a linkage between several names of individuals whom he says have been strategically appointed to sensitive state agencies in a bid to help the New Patriotic Party retain power in 2025. First, he references Edward Asumini, the Deputy National Security Coordinator, who is now the substantive National Security Coordinator, and Nana Atuobra-Kweku, who is the Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau, the NIB, as two persons who had previously worked in different capacities with the Dankwa Institute, a known think tank founded by Gabi Asare-Otredako, who is a known cousin of the president. Martin Amidu goes on to say that both men had sharpened their teeth at the Dankwa Institute and indicated that they had held positions in different capacities and called the Dankwa Institute a strategic family instrument for producing the likes of Nana Atuobra-Kweku and Edward Kweku Asumeni for leadership of two critical national security apparatus in anticipation of the 2024 elections. He said many a citizen who do not have an in-depth knowledge and understanding of the working of the Republic's law enforcement, security and intelligence apparatus may not appreciate the abuse of constitutional power involved when a disingenuous president subtly uses the power and instruments of state in capturing the essential institutions designed to ensure a free and fair elections. The 7-page epistle also waded into the recent conversation around the Ghana card being used as a sole source document for registering onto the electoral register. Mr. Amidu alleges that during the 2024 elections, the possibility of surveillance of political opponents could not have been far from the main reason for the insistence and railroading of Ghanaians on the Ghana card registration and the SIM card re-registration exercise using what he calls the unconstitutional and infamous process of the establishment of emergency communications instruments, that's the EI-63. Martin Amidu mentioned the likes of the Director General of the National Communications Authority, Joseph Anoche, the Director General of the National Information Technology Authority, NITA, that's Richard Ochiri-Fosu, as part of the grand scheme to manipulate data of voters and, to some extent, monitor the activities of opposition during elections.
Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been petitioned to probe separate claims of tax evasion and money laundering involving some Ghanaian companies. The petitioners, the Movement for Truth and Accountability, say the sheer volume of monies lost to the states could be recovered and prosecutions initiated if the OSP concludes its probe. The group in April last year drew the attention of the Ghana Revenue Authority to probe allegations of tax evasion as well as money laundering involving more than 1,200 companies. Here is Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority's response to the claims by the petitioners at that time.
The group in April last year drew the attention of the Ghana Revenue Authority to probe allegations of tax evasion and money laundering involving more than 1,200 companies. Here is Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority's response to the claims by the petitioners at the time.
Yeah, actually, it's even more than what they had. Let me say that we had started this exercise even before we were engaged by this group. And it started when we had identified that people had, say, allocated $100,000 to import particular commodities. But then when it comes to customs, when those same goods has arrived, it may be reported as 20,000. So how come that, one, the person said the goods worth 100,000, but then when it arrived, it became 20,000? Because we found out that more than 10,000 transactions. There were total, in terms of the amount, but not in terms of the tax, because the tax will vary. It's about $1.8 billion.
The convener of the anti-corruption campaigners, the Movement for Truth, Joseph Bediako, says the finding of a special prosecutor is only a fraction of the schemes to evade taxes and launder monies by many companies.
In fact, we wrote back to them that we want to find out how much have they retrieved, and nothing comes up. So we have to take some of these cases to court, these companies. The process was slow, so we have to discontinue the case and send back to the SP office.
The group alleged that another company belonging to another member of the Council of State could be found wanting by the time the special prosecutor finishes probing the claims before it.
And don't forget, it's not only Bianca, who is only a Council of State member, who had been indicted for money laundering and tax evasion. There was one other Council of State member who was also involved in the money laundering and tax evasion. And the investigation is ongoing. And I can assure you, the SP has taken over from the GRA to do the 2,000 companies who have been involved in money laundering and tax evasion.
Already, Commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Kenel Damwa, retired, has been fighting off the report of a special prosecutor indicting him of ultimate culpability in granting unlawful tax reductions to La Bianca Company.
A report purporting or coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. If you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do. Not to say that they should do further investigations up to 2017. Up to 2015, I have letters written by Deputy Commissioner Demis Agavo granting similar things.
The group has withdrawn an earlier court process against the companies in favor of a special prosecutor for a speedy, more thorough investigation into the transfer of funds in the region of $1.8 billion. The Office of a Special Prosecutor has confirmed receipt of the various documents and petitions and assured it will look into the matters as mandated by law.
Well, to some more stories this morning, the Ghana Journalists Association has waded into the Radio Ada ban in covering this year's Asafo Tufiame Festival by the Ada Traditional Council. In a typical case of traditional authority against media freedom, the association has condemned the action, arguing the Traditional Council does not have the power or rights to impose such restrictions on a radio station and its staff. Let's take a listen to GJA President Albert Jumfor.
We understand the Ada Traditional Council has filed a complaint at the National Media Commission, NMC, against Radio Ada for professional misconduct. We commend the Traditional Council for taking such steps. However, the Ada Traditional Council violated the rules on complaint settlement of the NMC per the imposition of restrictions on the radio station and its reporters. The GJ believes the imposition of restriction on the radio station and its reporters is unjustifiable. In fact, it is an affront to press freedom as guaranteed in Article 21, 1A and F of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and Article 19 of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. With all due respect, the Ada Traditional Council does not have the right or powers to impose such restrictions on Radio Ada and its staff. We also consider the bearing of the 3 reporters of Radio Ada from wearing the paraphernalia of the radio station, and particularly the mention of their names, a threat to their lives and that of their family. We should be mindful of how such public disclosure of names of journalists has led to the killing of such journalists, and we should refrain from such actions. We believe one major significance of festivals is to use the occasion to foster peace, unity, and oneness of purpose among the people to promote the development of the community. We also recognize the concept of community radio as being the rallying force for the promotion of the culture and socio-economic development of the host communities.
Well, let's bring you some updates on the construction of the controversial National Cathedral project. Now, lack of funds is threatening to stall the process again as trustees are rallying the Christian community to make contributions towards the project.
He noted that funds were trickling in to support the construction of the project, but the political twist led to apathy in people supporting it.
This is something that has become almost a canker to the nation. Every major project that seeks to transform this country has been politicized. And what we are hoping is that as a project that touches 70% of our population, Christians, that hopefully maybe the conversations around this will begin to help us to depoliticize most of these things. You need to call some of the people politicizing these issues to order.
He, however, disclosed plans are underway to build a technical platform to acknowledge and appreciate donors to encourage more Christians to donate. A national campaign would also be launched from September 1 to December 31 to raise more funds. On the issue of mass resignation of some members of the Board of Trustees, Secretary to the Board, Prophet Victor Kusi Boateng, described the rumors as false.
The only person that had indicated that he, for personal reasons, he wanted to stay back was Dr. Mensa Otabil. There is not a single cathedral member who has resigned. Even Dr. Mensa Otabil, up till today, is always on phone with us, encouraging us, bringing his suggestions, and telling us what should be done.
The Kumasi Council of Christian Churches has thrown their unflinching support for the National Cathedral. Immediate past steering committee chairman, Most Reverend Daniel Yinka Safo, asked all church leaders to encourage their members to donate to complete the National Cathedral.
We appeal to heads of churches in the Ashanti region to mobilize the church through means that are comfortable with their particular tradition to raise funds for the project. We also appeal to all Christians in the country, and particularly Ashanti, to financially support this critical national project.
Some more stories this morning. The managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mohammed, says the company loses a total of 3.2 billion cedis with legal connection and other technical challenges associated with distribution. He intends to use all legal means to get power consumers to pay for what they consume. He spoke to Alfred Okanse on Ghana Tonight. Well, we'll bring you that story subsequently. But the heads of health training institutions have suspended the 2022-23 admissions following a directive to reserve 30% admission quota for the health ministry. The sector ministry also is asking for the heads to deposit 34% of the revenue accrued from the sale of admission forms into an account being held at the central bank. Kamla Kluche reports.
The chief director of the health ministry, Kwabena Bwedu Okwafari, on August 2, 2022, in a letter to the principals and directors of the Public Health Training Institute, communicated the modalities for the upcoming 2022-2023 academic admissions. He stated the composition of the interview panel, stressing a 30% quota be left for the ministry. The heads were to charge 150 cedis per interview of students seeking admission, with a further 30% gross proceeds of the interview fees charged credited to an account in the name of the ministry at the central bank. But a communique from the Conference of Heads of Health Training Institutions, Kuheti, is calling for the suspension of admissions until further engagement with the ministry. The Member of Parliament for the Dafiama, Buse Issa constituency, and a member of the Health Committee of Parliament, says the directive is in bad faith.
It brings a whole lot of problems and equity issues to the vulnerable student in the rural area like my constituency, getting admission to do nursing in whichever institution that particular student wants to go. What is the criteria that the 30% that the Ministry of Health is saying they should reserve for them? How are they going to admit these 30 students?
Dr. Sandari is seeking the health minister to immediately halt the directive.
Gradually will mean that a day will come where all admissions would be reserved for the Ministry of Health. And when they say that, you and I know how this 30% would be admitted by the Ministry of Health. It's just going to be, politicians taking over the process, sending students to be admitted, which I say, does not give equal opportunity for these students.
Time now for some international news, and police say dozens of civilians and 6 police officers have been killed in an anti-government protest in Sierra Leone. Hundreds of people have been taking part in demonstrations from Freetown and in places such as Makeni and Kamakwe in the opposition's northern stronghold. The demonstrators are fed up with the high cost of living, corruption, as well as police brutality. The police say a nighttime curfew enforced on Wednesday will remain in place. Now, according to internet watchdog NetBlocks, there were intermittent cuts yesterday and overnight. Demonstrators demanded the departure of President Julius Maada Bio, who was elected in 2018 and still has 10 months left in his term. Regional political and economic bloc ECOWAS has condemned the violence and called for all to obey the law and order for the perpetrators of the violence to be identified and brought before the law.